I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. You know, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything. No, it really has been a tough first year for you, Mr. President. Gas is up, gas is up, gas is up, everything. Rent is up, everything, everything, everything. Gas is up, rent is up, food is up, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is Thursday, and it's like the countdown to Christmas is right here. Well, is it going to be a good kind of Christmas with you? Or is it kind of like the comedian who made fun of Joe Biden his first time in office in the first year? Bidenflation, as it's called. Gas is up, rent is up, food is up, toys is up. Everything's up. Everything. Now, I want to say a special thanks to everyone who contributes to my delinquency here on the Prepared Mind channel in my efforts to bring you news, fact, commentary, opinion, all encompassed in a big bundle of satirical, sardonic, facetious smartassedness, aka comedy satire. But it is hard news. Have no doubts. It is hard information to digest. Hard for many people to accept. That's right. A lot of people don't want to accept that this is our world. It's our world. This is what we got. All right. I tell you, what do we want to do? Adjust the old camera here. Let's talk about some stuff. Let's talk some SHTF. Let's talk turkey. No, that was last month. Let's talk season's greetings. How about this? How about season's beatings? Folks, the Democrat cities continue to disintegrate into and down to a level of humanity that Neanderthal cavemen would consider brutish. Now, imagine yourself. I want to take you back to the Vikings, right? Because that's my heritage, right? The Vikings, they were brutes and brutish, were they not? They were barbarians, were they not? They conquered people with the sword. They beat the shit out of everybody. They took what women they wanted as prize. They're not the nicest guys, right? The Vikings. But do you think for a second that in their homeland where the Vikings were, that they would allow their children to attack one another and beat the shit out of each other? Do you think they were uncivilized in their villages and small towns and large towns? Or do you think they had a set of moral rules that they operated by? Now, folks, there's a difference between civilization and war, is there not? When you go to war with someone, you go there to kill them. That's war. Your country versus their country, your people versus their people, whatever it may be. But within your own house, you don't want strife and chaos. Within your own village, you don't want strife and chaos. So in other words, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think in a Viking village that the children of Olga would constantly go over and fuck with the children of Svend? Or do you think they got along for the most part? And if they got out of hand, everyone got an ass beating. Well, I'll tell you what. I have it on good authority that you behaved. Remember back then, folks, 1,000 years ago, right? A cut could lead to a serious infection, could lead to the loss of a limb or even your life, right? So you didn't fuck around a whole lot. If you fucked around, you found out. Well, today, in today's world, are we less barbaric than the Vikings? Or are we more barbaric than the Vikings? Now, let's split things down the middle, take war and move it off to the side. We're just talking about in our own towns, villages, cities, and homes. Are we more civil? Well, in Maryland, that's Maryland, the state, which is right next to Washington, D.C. In one high school, in one day, 10 separate, distinct fights broke out amongst the children. Folks, the people that live in Democrat cities, in other words, are far less civil, far less intelligent, far less capable, and they were reduced so far down to animalism that they resort to fighting at every opportunity. Right? And they don't fight because they're trying to demonstrate who has the best technique or who is the best warrior, if you will. Right? These are just brawls, right? Giant chimp outs every single time. 10 in one school in one day. Stay away from Democrats, folks. They are dangerous. Not just the adults, but even the children. And we've heard a lot about that, haven't we? These young people playing the knockout game, beating old people. Now, another place I want you to be wary of is Florida. Nikki sent this. I'm going to blame Nikki for this. Right? She says stay out of Florida. She doesn't want any more people down there. She says, hey, everyone in Florida is crazy. Right? Because a Florida man lit his own home on fire. And he shot a deputy sheriff in a 4-hour standoff with the police. This man, whoever he is, did not want to be arrested. He was in a standoff. Over what, you ask? What did Florida man do this time? Florida man shoplifted some cigarettes, got in a standoff with the law enforcement, with the sheriff's department, shot a deputy. He shot the sheriff, he shot the deputy, and then he lit his own home on fire. I don't know if he's dead or not, but lit his own home on fire. Now, this is less, as far as I'm concerned, of a regional issue and more of a morality issue. Just period. I'm sure this guy is not a Republican, by the way. I'm sure he is a fucking crazy person to have shoplifted cigarettes and then decided he wasn't going to be arrested for it. And he ended up shooting a fucking deputy and lighting his house on fire. Now, if this had happened in a Democrat state, they probably wouldn't have bothered arresting him because you can steal $1,000 worth of shit in a single store visit and they won't arrest you. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking of going into what store don't we like? What store chain? Target, TJ Maxx, who else? Dick's Sporting Goods. I think I'm going to go in the door and say, hey, what's your shoplifting policy? And have them tell me their shoplifting policy. If they go, well, you know, someone steals 1,000 or more, we call the police. But, you know, I'll go, okay, that's great. Thanks for letting me know. You don't stop people who steal less than $1,000. And then I'll just go over and I'll grab $800 worth of goodies and walk out the door. You think they would let me do that? Do you think they would try and stop me? They'd be like, hey, Mississippi man. Hey, Swamp man. You think they would stop me? I think it's a serious question. Ooh, man, thumbs up or thumbs down? Would someone at Dick's Sporting Goods, after telling me their shoplifting policy, would they stop me if I tried walking out with $800 in gear? They would not. Would not. Ooh, man says would not stop me. Would not call the police. Would they call the police, Ooh, man? Thumbs up or thumbs down? He's giving me thumbs up. They'll call the police. They won't try and stop me, but they will call the police. Even if the policy is don't call the police and don't try and stop me. Now, that begs the question. It begs the logical fallacy comes to life. Ooh, man, you're coming live. Are you ready? He says, he flipped me the bird.
And flip you the bird.
I know you did, man. I'm just so the question is, if I stole money after the store said, yeah, we don't bother calling the police. We don't try and stop people. You know, we just let shoplifters go. They wouldn't try and stop me, but they would call the police if I did it.
I believe so, yeah.
Why is that? It begs the question.
Because you're a Viking.
Because I'm not a bum, because I'm dressed like a normal human,
Yeah,
because
I
I
don't
look
think
responsible.
based on your size, I don't think they try to stop you unless they happen to have a bigger Viking working there.
Right.
But I
Well,
do
if their
believe they would
policy
call
is
the
not
police.
to stop anybody, then they wouldn't, right?
Yeah,
But would they call the police?
I
Because
believe they would call the police. Yeah, because
even though their policy is don't call the police.
Well, I believe that if they want to file some kind of insurance claims or something like that, they need to have documentation. So I don't think that calling the police is going to have any actual effect because the response time you'd be gone already.
Well, that's just it. Is the police? They don't arrest people for under $1,000 anymore, right?
Right.
So if the store policy isn't there and the police don't give a shit,
who knows?
It
probably also depends on what town you're in.
Well, yeah. I'm just talking about like a town like California, state of Illinois. Would they treat you differently?
Oh, I absolutely believe so. Yeah.
Right. So if what about I really think they would treat us differently regardless of color or tan ability. If you're wearing a nice set of clothes and you look respectable and your hair is nice and you wear a pair of glasses and you look intelligent, and I'm not saying I look intelligent, I'm just pretending, someone that's got some specs on and they're dressed nice. I don't think that they're going to be treated the same way because you expect a bum to steal and you expect, low life ghetto scum to steal.
Right. And what are you going to get out of them if you arrest them?
Well, they get a free night in jail at least, and they get 3 hots and a cot.
Yeah, right.
But me, it would be a very uncomfortable visit to the jail. So, and then they would probably try and fine me and make an example out of me for the other bums.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what that dividing line is or where that dividing line is. But again, I think it largely depends on what town you're in, what area you're in, and what the management or security think of you.
Right. Yeah, I think they would treat me completely different depending on how I was dressed. If I was in bummy clothes and I didn't smell so nice, I think they wouldn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's the Christmas season, though. It's the time of giving.
It's the time of giving 100% Christmas discounts.
It's the big discount. It's the Santa discount. It didn't cost me nothing.
Yeah, right.
All right. Thanks, man. All right. Let's flip out of that topic and into another. Not only did the brawls break out at school, they're also breaking out at Democrat holiday parties. I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. I can't remember. It's been one hell of a day trying to get everything wrapped up and in time for the Christmas break. Detroit, news station in Detroit, WXYZ. There's a station call out name, right? They put a video of a Ms. Bobby Avington Johnson getting punched at a Democrat holiday party. And a bunch of Free Palestine people showed up, right? Local Michigan politicians, so they're Democrats, right? They ended up having a bunch of pro-Palestinian Hamas supporting terrorists show up. And they ended up getting in a shoving match. And one Democrat was hospitalized. I love the fact that Democrat radical activists are going after radical Democrat politicians. I mean, who else is going to be on the side of the crazy lunatic pro-Hamas warriors? This is amazing. Now, think about it. Way over here on the left, no, the right, you've got Republicans and they say, we're the far right. And way over here on the left side of the screen, you've got your far left radical, anti-war, no, pro-war, hey, don't kill babies. Hey, you should kill babies. Those crazy radical leftists. And then in the middle, you've got rhino Republicans and Democrats, and they're afraid of the extremes on both ends. So it's good to know that the left are turning on their own as well. And I think that's going to continue. I really do. I think these people are going to become so radical that they're going to pull the Democrat Party to pieces. But don't worry, the ruling elite will not give up their seats. Hey, it is Thursday. It's the countdown to Christmas. Get your questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, predictions down below. Let me ask you this question. What was one of the biggest events of 2023? And what is one of your predictions for 2024 election year? I think we should, every time we talk about the big events from the year that pushed us further into SHTF. And then also, what do you think is coming in the next year that is going to take us further down that road and possibly into Mad Max, Wild West, shit gone crazy? All right. Just understand, folks, Democrats are dangerous, and they're becoming extremely violent. Whether it's a holiday party, a street protest they used to have big support rallies, but they always turn into protests now. So the fact that the Democrats are now being punched in the face by people who think like them, I think the chickens have come home to roost on their faces, and I love every second of it. Unbelievable. Good stuff. Now, some crazy stuff is happening in Europe. SHTF is not an America-only thing. And I think that is important for us to all understand and pay attention to. In Poland, Donald Tusk, who is the prime minister, he has decided he is going to just open the door and shove globalist World Economic Forum policies down everyone's throat. Now, I still have this belief in my head that for some reason, I think that the modern Europeans, as uppity and stuppity as they can be, because that's who we usually hear from, are the fucking snobs. And then on the American side, they get to see the white trash, and they're like, yep, America, right? And we're like, yeah, fuck you, Euro trash. But Europe is falling apart, and they're going down the toilet quicker than the United States of America in many ways. The Polish prime minister, to put in charge of the Minister of Family. That's right. They have a bureaucracy in Poland called the Ministry of Family. Well, the Minister of Family is an activist, a socialist activist who is an LGBTQ person. And what else did they do in Poland? They've decided they're going to censor anybody on television who wants to oppose the government's World Economic Forum policies. Does that sound like democracy to you? Isn't it incredible how we keep getting lectured by the likes of Karine Jean-Pierre, idiot extraordinaire, or Emmanuel Macron of France, or Joe Biden, or Justin Turd Hole? These people keep lecturing us about democracy and how Trump is destroying democracy. Democracy is allowing everyone to have a speak. Free speech is part of democracy. I'm not talking about a republic. I'm just talking about democracy. Democracy requires free speech and everyone votes, and majority gets to do what it wants. Well, in Poland, they're shutting down free speech. They're not allowing people to debate. In other words, the Socialist Democrats of Poland. And we may as well just call them that because it's the same thing as America. They're a bunch of Democrats. They are destroying democracy, at the same time telling us, you, me, people who are patriotic and lovers of freedom, we're the destroyers of democracy. They continue to gaslight us, lie to us, and tell us, no, that's the truth. Understand there's a price to pay for all of this, folks. There's a price to pay for all of this. Let's just say a rubber band. A rubber band wants to stay in the shape of a rubber band. But if you put it on your fingers and you pull it, it does stretch, does it not? The rubber band will pull in one direction. It wants to stay in this direction, but if you pull it, it'll bend for a while until the rubber band breaks or whatever is artificial pulling it back lets go. And the rubber band will snap back. And it'll snap back violently to where nature's law or natural law takes cover. That's where it wants to be. We're going to see how this works, folks, because they're pulling everything that is supposed to be where it's at, naturally. Naturally. Now, this was funny. It's just plain fucking funny, and I had to share it with you. In Texas, the lieutenant governor there, his name is Dan Patrick, he decided that he was going to pull the chain of Joe Biden and said, quote, maybe we should take Joe Biden off the ballot in Texas for allowing 8 million people to cross the border. That actually sounds like a legitimate reason to take him off the ballot in Texas, because Joe Biden has done everything he can to help illegals, meaning illegal criminal illegals, to cross the border from a foreign country into ours. Wasn't it amazing how every American needed to stay locked down because the potential of spreading disease was so great, and we had to protect grandma. And if we could save just one life, we would lock down all of America. Yet there's people coming from other countries that are disease bags. We don't know how healthy they are. Come to this country and enter it. Don't you think we should lock them down for a couple of years? In fact, that's used to be part of the immigration regime. If you were going to immigrate to America, you had to have papers, had to explain where you were from. And then they would keep those people in quarantine to ensure that any diseases they had that were communicable stayed inside that population. Wow. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. I hope you got your questions, what you want to talk about, folks, because it's coming. It's coming. You need to get it out. You need to get your thoughts out. Get them out for everyone to think about. Because what you say here today literally can help people get prepared and maybe even save some lives. And I think that's what you and I do. You and I do is we help people save lives. Ah, boy, I tell you. Interesting, folks. Democrats in 4 states, including Florida, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Massachusetts, decide to have only Joe Biden on the primary ballot. See what the Democrats are doing? They're making sure their one candidate that they want is there. Geez, why would they want a doddering old fool who doesn't know who he is or where he is or what he's doing and what he's signing? Why would they want a guy like that to be in charge? Fuck. Kind of answers the question for itself, right? Well, because he's controllable. Because he can be easily controlled. Now, I told you the other day we discussed the U.S. military personnel, the Army, that enlisted young folks in the Army were complaining about the quality of food, and the amount of pay they get. And they were doing this while in uniform. What I can tell you is last time I was on a military base, I was shocked to see how young the sergeants, staff sergeants were, and even gunnery sergeants. I thought, man, these people are way too young. They look like fucking kids being promoted very quickly, but still, they've got their trouble. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying to you? Anyways, man, I sure hope we're getting some good questions, comments, and stuff like that down in the question section. I'm looking at the number. There's a high number of comments out there. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you think was the big event of 2023 that really pushed us further into SHTF land. I want to know, folks. I think that you guys have a lot of the answers. I mean, I get emails frequently. You know, I get them from a lot of the names you see on the daily videos, a lot of the names you see on the Sunday Night Live show. But I get others from people who quietly tell me what they're thinking, like Maryland. She'll send something every now and then. Bonnie Blue quietly sends something. John will send something very quietly. Anyways, we've got this topic here. The Israeli Defense Force. And I think this is going to continue to be a big story. The IDF, Israel, is claiming they have eliminated 600 terrorists. Now, by eliminate, do they mean kill or capture or both? The story wasn't too clear. As far as I'm concerned, the only good terrorist is a dead terrorist. And that goes for terrorists on all sides. Now, apparently there's this place in Gaza called the Elite Quarter. That sounds generous, considering we're describing Gaza, which looks like it looks like the planet Mars exploded on it. It's just a giant shithole. Now, Hamas is trapped. Apparently, Hamas is being forced to hunt animals to get food. And they're even claiming that they're losing sanity. Now, I find that hard to believe because I don't think they had sanity as one of their hallmark or, shall we say, qualities. I don't think they're very fucking sane at all, considering what it is they are doing and what they've been doing. Using women and children and families as shields, using schools and hospitals and mosques as shields and places to fight from. That's not sane. They might say, well, it's very strategically sneaky. Yeah, but it's also rather insane. How can you justify killing children or using children as a shield? Now, in a one-on-one fight, Israel, folks, is taking out these terrorists. So what am I pointing to? Well, folks, Hezbollah, the Iranian terrorist organization, Al-Qaeda, brave enough to bring down the Twin Towers and Building 7 too. ISIS, the next generation of super terrorist warriors, right? All of those groups, folks, all the terror groups abandoned their terrorist buddies, Hamas. They abandoned them like cowards. See, that was the prediction, was these guys were going to step up. So this is turning into a big victory for Israel. The whole world, well, we were worried. We're worried that Israel would be attacked and that there'd be an exchange of nuclear weapons, that the war could go and spread wider. Turns out to be basically a nothing burger for the rest of the world, as Israel has methodically gone into Gaza, flattened it, bombed it, flooded it to get to these terrorists. Very interesting in my book. Very, very interesting to see what was going on. Christine Bahana sent me a version. Oh my goodness! Of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Christine, if you could send that to me in an email, because it's too small on the screen of my phone there. Anyways, it starts off with, right, 'twas the night before Christmas. He lived on alone in a one-bedroom house made of plaster and stone. I had come down the chimney with presents to give and to see just who in this home did live. Oh, shoot. I can't wait. I'll be reading 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Apparently, I'll be reading The Prepper Night Before Christmas. I'll also be reading Hooker and Blow, which is an ode, if you will, to a Hunter Biden Christmas story. That'll be a rather of a parody presentation, but I do love Christmas, so we'll get there. We'll get there. Let's do this. Speaking of getting there, let's get to you guys at the inner circle and see your thoughts, your ideas, your concept. Here we go. Good golly. Okay. Mr. Man, I just got a message here from Orlando. Yep. Yep, I tell you. Okay, I'm done with looking at Orlando's comment. That was a private conversation there. We got Charles Gentry. Says, I don't think we have until next election before something really big pops off. If not the election, probably will. Just my thoughts on the matter. Doesn't really matter. Pick a spot and hold it. Well, I wasn't talking about the election. I was just talking about 2024 altogether. But I think many of us understand that the election is going to play a major role in the SHTF in which you're in. From the campaign season to different states trying to cheat, Democrats being exposed, rhinos being exposed. I think candidates will be exposed also. I hope whistleblowing continues, right? And how many of the candidates out there are on that little list of Jizzy Maxwell's? Will the terrorists in America make life a living hell for everybody and try shutting down freeways and streets, shutting down businesses, bombing, maybe arson? You know, maybe they'll do a little BLMing in 2024. We've got the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas types. We've got people who just hate Jews, anti-Israeli types. We got people who hate freedom on the left, people who hate babies on the left, people who hate tradition on the left, people who hate our culture on the left, people who hate our race on the left. And notice how all the groups that are going to be burning, looting, and murdering are, well, Democrats on the left. So there it is, Charles. Thank you for your idea there. But yeah, we all know the election is going to be one of the big enchiladas. But could there be something else that's on your mind that you think will get out of hand? Mr. Uman, Chin Music comes in and he says, Birder is out of fucking control. The border is out of fucking control. He says, I just emailed John a video. He says, 100,000 people this week, Mikey. This is off the hook bad. I have clients that I train from Mexico. One got here today, had to walk across the border bridge or rent a car. Driving across was 15 hours. Now, I saw the picture of the spinning roundhouse kick. I think it was a spinning roundhouse kick. There's a lot of motion in the picture, Chin. Good to have those skills, brother. I don't have those anymore if I ever had them at all. I was never a big flexible swinging kick kind of guy. But that being said, there's nothing wrong with a little Shotokan in your belt. Anyways, 100,000 people this week alone. Do you remember when it was 100,000 a month? Now it's down to a week or up to a week. They're killing us, folks. They're flooding us, literally flooding the country with these people. And they're coming from not just Mexico or El Salvador or Guatemala or Venezuela even. They're coming from across the ocean. They're coming from across the ocean. I think that the private groups, the NGOs, you know, like George Soros's NGO, that is paying for the transportation of people from China, from Russia, from the Middle East, from Africa, from India, from Southeast Asia. I really believe these companies, these NGOs, these non-government organizations, I think that they should be criminally fined and prosecuted because they are putting people at risk. They're committing very dangerous acts by putting these people in cargo ships. They are inhumane. They are indecent. They are unsanitary. And they're just trying to get them to America to destroy America. I mean, I see this as a direct attempt to overload our social system in an effort to collapse our country and its ability to support itself. If they brought 6 million people, 8 million people, 10 million people in by the time Biden is done, that's increasing the population by 3%. Unnaturally increasing the population 3% if they bring in 10 million people. That is an act of war. It is also a crime against humanity. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about both the people in the boats as well as the countries on which they are being dumped. Those are crimes against Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, San Salvador, whatever the hell that place is called. Right? Nicaragua, Honduras, Panama. It's a crime against those countries to dump these people in there. And it's a crime against America, the United States. I tell you, it's getting crazy. And I did watch the video, Chen. That's a lot of freaking people. All right. Thanks, man. Charles says this. He says, get ready for what is coming. That sounds familiar. He says, hard decisions are going to have to be made. I know my son can. That gives me peace. Somehow I did good, and that is good enough for me. I'll tell you what, Charles, it feels good when you do something right. I got a phone call today from an old friend who said, you know, your sons, I've seen them, they look good, right? I asked about how people were back in the old town. And it's good to know that I had an impact on everything and everyone, that people still remember me. And the same goes for you. You have done good in this world, folks. People remember that, whether it's your friends, your close family, your distant family, your coworkers, people in your neighborhood. They remember you. They do. You have an effect. You did good. You should be proud of yourself, and it should also encourage you to continue doing exactly that. Keep fighting. Don't give up. At some point, it's going to get nasty. People will remember you, folks. If you're a good person, they'll go and look to you, right, for answers. Doesn't make you the leader, doesn't make you the boss, doesn't make you ultimately responsible, but you're probably going to know more than most because you've paid attention. People will look for answers. They'll even become, let's just use the term violent. They'll be very angry on the border of, you know, beating and starting fights because they want to know who's responsible. And it's like, well, where have you been for the last 20 fucking years? Because this whole time we've been complaining about the people that need to be held responsible, and no one's there with us, right? Well, I tell you what, I don't go out every day with a placard or a sign. I don't go stand in front of City Hall and scream and yell and complain about people. You know, I don't do that. I just try to make people aware. But some people do that. They're there every single day with pickets and signs, or they're writing emails, or they're sending text messages, or they're filling out questionnaires online to let their elected representatives know. Everything you do matters, and that is good. And you should be satisfied and keep going. Thank you, Charles Gentry. Thank you, Mr. Uman. And Mr. Uman, of course, you're invited to participate in this as well. What is the big thing? What is coming in 2024? that could completely change the landscape of America. You know, that's something we're going to find out about, I think. Definitely. Where are we going here? We've got Orlando. He says, statement, question. John Schneider. That's the blonde dude on Dukes of Hazzard. Not the movie, but the one from way back when I was a kid. John Schneider made a death threat to Biden. Thoughts? I tell you what, I'm curious. I would like to know what this death threat is. It didn't pop up in my news feeds that I monitored throughout the day. Somehow I missed it. Does anybody else know about this? Can you send me a link? I know it's hard to do this real time, folks. If something just came in, Orlando, send it to me. I know you're on because it just told me you're on. So if John Schneider made a death threat to Biden, that's interesting. Now, most celebrities, most of them are Democrats, like 98%, right? Or they'll tell you they're Democrats. A lot of the Democrat celebrities that are way out on the left, radical leftist activist types, they are the ones who make death threats and cuss and scream and yell and have Trump derangement syndrome. And here we go. Got it. Thank you, Mr. Orlando. Interactive TV, right? Remember when that first came out? They were like, hey, interactive TV. We're like, how is that possible? Here we go, right? Okay, it's a TMZ story. And here we have John Schneider makes death threat against President Biden. And he's likely going to have a visit from the Secret Service. I love the people that are commenting, throw him in jail for making threats against the president. Right? And then other people are saying it wasn't really a threat. Right? Not a death threat. But he didn't directly threaten him. No case. Yeah, as suspected. You know, it's a partisan thing. You know, it's partisan. I mean, it's incredible how someone like Mad Maxine Waters can literally tell people, right? She incites violence. Go get in their faces. Don't let them sit down. Do this, do that. Follow them to their homes, right? Ruin their lives, ruin their jobs. You know, and that's fine. But if you say something against a Democrat, they think it's a death threat, right? You threaten me. It's ridiculous. It just is. They're complete idiots, literally complete idiots. I think that would be my thoughts. It's really a false claim. It's overreaction. It's TMZ, so they're trying to make news story out of something that's not really news. There's a lot of different ways to look at this. But I think what is important to note is people are looking for a reason to be offended on the left. They're literally looking for a reason to be offended. I couldn't really care if all day long Democrats stood out on the street and threatened to kill Trump, because they're not going to get very far. I mean, a really creative, intelligent, and skilled veteran could. But a bunch of LGBS dunderheads aren't going to get real far. Anyways, it's interesting. Dukes of Hazzard star John Schneider, not happy with Biden. I'll tell you what, a lot of people are not happy with Biden on the left. They don't like him at all. They think he's doing a piss poor job. Bidenomics sucks. They're realizing they don't like the border open. I love that Texas is flying illegals up to Chicago and other places, right? Governor Abbott there, I think he's doing a great job. Now, I know he's not the world's most perfect Republican. He's not George Washington, but hell, they're doing a pretty good job, I think, of dealing with the millions of illegals coming across the border. And then shipping them on. Okay, you like Sanctuary City? Enjoy, you bunch of liberal idiots. Enjoy. So here we go. Thank you, Orlando, very much. I'm glad you were able to get me that link very quickly. Just a quick perusal. Let me know what was going on. It's manufactured news. Mikey G checks in. And he says the biggest nothing burger of 23 was the Ukrainian counteroffensive. Now, this is interesting. What was supposed to be something? Well, it was supposed to be this Ukrainian counteroffensive. They were going to kick the shit out of the Russians. They were going to take back the breakaway republic states that joined the Russian Federation. They were going to take them back. And the whole world was going to be there to watch, witness, and probably even encourage Russia to quit, to give up, right? In the name of humanity. Because it would be the honorable thing to do. Because if you're losing, you should spare the lives of your men and not make them suffer. And you shouldn't waste capital and resources because you're losing. So all those excuses, folks, that I just recited are what the leftists in Europe and America would say. Russia, stop killing your own people. Russia, you should give up. Russia, do what's right. Save money. Stop wasting money. Stop blowing things up. You're affecting the environment with all these bombs blowing up. But instead, it's, well, Ukraine. You need to keep blowing up bombs and spending money. You need to keep risking wider war. You need to keep sending your men there to get killed. That's what we're seeing. The nothing burger of 23 was the Ukraine counteroffensive. Basically, they're like a set of spinning, pulverizing knives. And the Ukrainian military just keeps walking right into it. What I think is that the nothing burger showed us, folks, how weak the Western military structure is. And I'm talking about NATO. How weak is NATO? Now, another thing I want to bring up is a bunch of goat herding, backwards ass desert dwellers from Afghanistan were able to effectively guerrilla fight American forces and outlive and outlast the effort until the American military basically expended all reason for even being there. Not that the Marines aren't well skilled and can take out the bad guys. Not that the Army isn't well skilled and able to take out the bad guys. They were able to outlast them. If we go into a state of civil war, in other words, if we've gone from social bullshit, media bullshit, political bullshit, legal lawfare fighting, major conflicts, partisan conflict, we could end up in a civil war in this country. And then you're going to have the government of Washington, D.C., trying to turn the American people on the American people in an effort for the government to salvage its own power. You see, it's not the North versus the South. It's not East versus West. It is not truly black versus white or any other color. It's about freedom and liberty. And that fight is in every town, in every state, across the country. That's why I call it partisan conflict. Because we're not fighting a unified military or a unified government or a unified anything. It is spread out. It's diverse. It is in everything. It's in every school. It's in the military. It's in the law. It's in the banking system. It's in the corporate system. This woke shit. I think we're going to see a fight. I think that fight could start in 2024. That's one of my major predictions that's coming up. Is if it looks like Trump is left on the ballot, that Trump is going to win, that the Democrats, in an effort to make sure, can do a number of things. They can pull a Voldemort Zelensky and say, we're canceling the election. There's too much civil unrest. Those rascally Republicans are out there threatening voters, and we can't have Democrats not voting. Right? They couldn't stand that. I really think they could break into wider conflict. And who knows, at some point, they very well may draw Republicans off of their couches. So they set down their old fashioned or their beer or their glass of Cabernet. And they may draw them off their couch and piss them off good to where they torches and pitchforks go downtown. We're going to find out. We sure are. We're going to find out. Mr. Uman, who else have we got out there? We got just a few minutes left. Chin says, I think they want us to take Joe off the ballot so they don't have to. Well, I don't think enough states are going to do that. Texas taking him off the ballot, I think, would be funny as hell. Texas is going to be a big-time Trump state, just like Florida. What the Democrats are afraid of is Trump doing well nationally and having a trickle-down effect of discouraging Democrat voters from getting out the vote because Biden is such a poor candidate. But who else are they going to replace him with? They brought out gruesome Gavin Pedo Newsom. And I think all of these people that support fruitcakes in our schools, pornography, gay pornography in schools, I think they are pedophiles. They're encouraging it. They're allowing it. They're part of it, period. But they tried showcasing another candidate, Gruesome Newsom, and he flopped. He flopped. Governor DeSantis made him look and sound like the idiot he is. Like the idiot he is. They tried making camel toes. They've tried a couple of times now to see if they could get her to sound presidential and intelligent. She just comes out sounding like a bigger retard than the last time. Uman says, get some what they want and someone to scream, destroying our democracy over. Yeah. They want to claim that, democracy is being destroyed. You know what's going to cause the violence to get out of hand is ignorance. When I say ignorance, I mean just a complete lack of knowledge and understanding of basic American history, basic American civics. Between basic civics and basic history, one can know and understand the letter of the law and the spirit of the law and the fundamental workings of our system. I mean, that's what we're supposed to get. To be an adult in America, in school, you're supposed to pass history courses and pass a test on the U.S. Constitution so that every American would be raised with an understanding of their rights and also to understand their duties as a citizen. Unbelievable. Just like the Colorado Supreme Court trying to disqualify Trump. Every legal pundit I've heard of is either saying this is completely unconstitutional, off the hook, or they're just saying they haven't ever seen anything this stupid before. Yet they're doing it because it's partisan and they want the fight. They want to scream that, well, if you rule against the Supreme Court, you're a Confederate. Right? It's unbelievable. The Supreme Court makes a ruling. Governor Newsom is not doing his job. They have a gun rights, or rather an anti-gun government program in California that violates people's rights. by saying you can't carry a concealed weapon in this place, that place, or the other place, when in fact the state has already been told, you can't tell people where they can carry a gun. Now, I think they're pushing us to have a fight. I think they're going to rely on the ignorance of people and their willingness to believe a soundbite, or their willingness to believe propaganda. They're willing to follow instructions from an idiot like Sheila Jackson Lee, or Mad Maxine Waters, or Nancy Pelosi, or Hillary Clinton, or any other of the dumbass Democrats. I really expect this to get out of hand in 2024. I just don't know how bad. Is it going to be in just some towns? I guess we'll have to watch, right? I guess we're going to have to watch. Mr. Uman, do we have more here? Let me know how many more in the Signal app, if you will. I know I'm running out of time, so I want to make sure I get everyone in that I can. Name redacted says, I heard a good observation today on Sean Ryan. All the food plant fires and chemical spills never got follow-up wrap-up from the media. I agree, it's created for effect and dropped to not be remembered. In other words, yeah, the media doesn't follow up, and it doesn't give you information, what has happened, how does this get fixed? Everything is reported to create an effect, to support an agenda. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Yeah, let's just keep watching, folks. Keep watching. Ray Epps, why isn't he in jail? Because the media doesn't follow up and ask, why isn't this guy in jail for his felony actions that were filmed during January 6th? Not 9/11, Jan 6th. All right, Mr. Uman, what have we got? We've got H12, Heidi, who says the sun's coronal mass ejections are ramping up. Mother Nature could zap the electrical grid. Now, the Carrington event occurred. Is it Carrington or Covington? I think it's Carrington. Covington was a friend of mine in the Marine Corps. Okay, Carrington. That was back in the mid-1800s, 19th century. And we're here in the 21st century. Way back then, they had telegraph lines, very limited power lines, very little bit. It was all brand new technology. But they had a coronal mass ejection, and it caused all sorts of problems for anything attached and connected to wires. We haven't had anything like that since then. The question is, how often does that happen? How would anyone know? So we do go through solar cycles. And if I believe correctly, maybe Uman will let me know, I believe that's an 11-year cycle where the sun powers up and powers down and powers up and powers. I think it's an 11-year cycle. So it would not surprise me if the CMEs and sun activity rise up to the solar, I think they call it solar maximum. Well, the best we can do is prepare, but it is something to watch. I'm always curious, right? In fact, I spent a number of months and years, hell, this is a long time ago, back before I was divorced, listening to Suspicious Observers, I think was the Weather Channel that was doing a lot of work at that time. I learned a lot about the sun. It's a big hot ball of fire up in the sky. All right. We'll go with that, and let's just shut down the show right there. It is Thursday. Thank you, Heidi, and thank you, Mr. Uman. 11 years, yes. Thank you, Charles. See, I'm not that stupid, right? It is the Thursday countdown to Christmas. We got Friday tomorrow, Saturday. Sunday is Christmas Eve. You guys pick a day when you want me to do Sunday Night Live. It won't be Sunday. That's Christmas Eve. How about Saturday night? How about Friday night? Or should I put it off till Monday night and have it be, Christmas night Eve? I'll figure this out. I'll figure it out. I'll let you guys know. I'll put one of those posts on YouTube that tells you what day it's coming. In any event, I love you all, and I wish the very best for all of you. I want to thank you all again for the best wishes, well wishes, Merry Christmases, and Super Chat donations that come through CashApp, Venmo, Zelle, and PayPal. I don't usually promote Zelle because I just don't use it that often. In any event, chance favors the prepared mind. Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Godspeed, Semper Fi. Gotta love this, folks.
And not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom.